специальный бит, который
privileges.
устанавливается у файлов, специальная
It's a special bit which is installed on a special extension of the file,
они выполняются с уровнем
and they are executed with the file owner permissions.
данные файлы в системе с помощью
So we can find these
и в
files by find
файлы используют для того,
command, and we can try to use these files to increase our privileges, to exceed them.
видим, что мы получили доступ к какой-то системе, вводим
So we received access to certain system.
видим, что мы также
We'd like to understand from you who we are in this system.
data. Используя команду с предыдущего слайда,
So using the command from the previous slide, command 5,
попытаться найти файлы в этой системе. То есть, в принципе, их может и не быть.
we can try to
Находим, выводит данная команда нам список этих файлов.
try to find them. So there is a list of files, and there we can try to go to the GT4 or beans to find the systems that we can introduce to this system. If they've played like 9 games even.
Например, BinBash, можем просто в поиске найти на get4beans.
We can find at get4beans paint bash. We can find this vector, and we can use suite command which is ready, but we just need to put it in the App Store.
Что мы получили также рута в системе.
So we've received the communication from letter.
Вернемся к Эфросу. Здесь также хотелось бы отметить, что помимо планировщика Cron и аудита данных,
in addition to Chrome planner, scheduler, and audit of these files, we can use,
чтобы также попытаться предотвратить данный вектор атаки.
We can try to prevent this vector of attack.
Хочется отметить, что вот где зеленая линия, там 4 из 14, если бы все было настроено корректно в системе, то мы, в принципе,
So if everything would be correctly
достаточно. Также мы даем рекомендации, как это можно исправить.
Also, we give some recommendations how to improve it.
У всех файлов. Следующий этап доклада — это повышение привилегий.
Next section is
Здесь, в принципе,
Windows nodes privileges increase.
Мы получили какой-то первоначальный доступ.
So here we'd like to research our system of low privileged access.
Таких примера покажу.
And then I will give you 2 examples.
Изначально мы также
Initially,
на нашей
we are doing our
понять
research
характер пользователя, то есть кто
to understand the user's character, who we are,
группы, в которых стоит наш текущий пользователь,
and we reflect the
отобразить другие группы, чтобы найти векторы атаки, там возможных администраторов, которые числятся в...
So we can find possible administrators, those that are...
операционную систему по версии и по архитектуре, для того, чтобы попытаться найти
both for
в дальнейшем его использовать.
Architecture and the version
ipconfig
we can find in the library. Using config command we can list all interface.
Перечислить все активные сетевые подключения, которые мы также можем использовать, и понять, что прослушивает, какие порты прослушивает наша машина.
So they can understand what kind of ports our machine listens to and whether it is used by anyone according to the system.
Здесь также один из способов повышения привилегий — это запланированные задачи Windows. С помощью
One of the ways of increasing
посмотреть информацию о вот этой вот именно запланированной задаче конкретной. Здесь нам важно понимать, то здесь есть сводка информации про вот эту вот команду.
So there are lists of information about this team.
Можем посмотреть там последнюю дату запуска, когда она в следующий раз будет запускаться. Ну и самый такой важный момент — это задача для запуска, то есть какая задача используется для того, чтобы...
So what kind of a task is used to launch this?
И если наш текущий пользователь, от которого может как-то изменять вот этот вот файл, как раз таки,
if the current user
нашу задачу, то мы можем подменить вот этот файл на какую-нибудь полезную нагрузку, чтобы уже в дальнейшем...
So we can change this file in some positive load to work based on the user that has this file.
К этому файлу. Видим, что группа users у нее есть...
We see that users group has full access.
Можем как-то попытаться сгенерировать нашу полезную нагрузку для того, чтобы в дальнейшем уже вот эту нашу полезную нагрузку наш IP-адрес атакующей машины, порт для
задачи
он отработает. Мы также
scheduler and
получили уже права.
This task are over. In some time we can get the rights of the user from which our task was loaded.
С помощью нашего продукта мы также можем контролировать операционные системы Windows. И здесь мы формируем список отчетов по...
Here we are forming a list of reports on this.
Мы контролируем задачи планировщика, мы контролируем как и целый этот отчет на целостность. То есть
we also controlling both the whole
мы это подсветим администраторам, либо ИБ-специалистам. И также мы можем контролировать сам путь.
Also we can control
то есть, если его также
all the way
мы
to the...
подскажем и оповестим. Второй такой вектор атаки — это небезопасность.
The second attack vector is unsafe
специальными менеджментом, и каждая служба, она будет также иметь связанный который будет запускаться
services,
сервис менеджментом при
SCM, and it would be launched by service manager every time when this service starts. Here on the slide you may see
нашу службу. Также
this is our topic.
Server.name, от какого пользователя она запускается. Ну и в дальнейшем будем пытаться также вот этот
and then we'll try to
есть passname
use the file that we have
отменить, но первоначально посмотреть, есть ли у нас к нему доступ какой-то.
So we need to make sure that we have some access to it.
Можем изменять этот файл.
We see that we can change this file.
С помощью
this executable file.
Этот файл, у нас есть к нему права.
We're checking its rights of access, and we'd like to change this active to
Здесь мы
B.
с помощью команды move подменяем этот файл на свою полезную нагрузку. Следующим шагом аналогично
And then we would go to
с
the
помощью команды netcat на своей атакующей операционной системе. И смотрим, через какое-то время это планировщик.
So after some time, this scheduler would be reset, and we could get some feedback,
под которым запускается.
and to see that for the users that we have planned, this is launched.
Вернемся обратно к Эфросу. Здесь мы можем также контролировать отчет по службам, можем контролировать его как на целостность, так и на целостность конкретный файл, который вот запускается под той либо иной службой. Формируется также отдельный отчет, ну и здесь название службы, сам путь исполнения этой службы.
So this would be a separate report, the way to execute this service.
В принципе, на этом все. Спасибо за внимание. В своем докладе
That's it from me. Thank you for your attention.
одни из
I reviewed
повышения
most
на самом деле их
vectors to
большое количество. Вот. И также
increase privileges.
наш стенд послушать про наш...
Please visit our stand, and we will talk about EFRA's defense operations. We cannot hear the question, unfortunately.
Смотрите, у нас на самом деле продукт многомодульный. Своим докладом я хотел обратить внимание на один из этих модулей. Своими модулями мы закрываем большое количество потребностей заказчиков. Вот, здесь
So by our modules we are covering,
в новом релизе,
satisfying the needs of the customer. So this is something new in a new release. Here we control special configurations. We're doing audit. But as when the owner is tired, we have also centralization, East team, CAS team, so everything is under one branches, because it unites several types of...
Да, спасибо. Какое время проходит и как, в принципе, формируются правила при выявлении?
So, how much time it passes when you identify new zero?
Если
Is it done by...
привилегии, или мы ждем правила, когда подгрузится уже от вас? Если от вас, то какой промежуток времени проходит?
Смотрите, в принципе...
So, when it comes from you, how much time it spends? When we are working, we have our own database.
Там, ну, на следующий...
And as soon as there is a new, some input, we will take it with us.
Также есть отчет по уязвимостям.
And a separate report we would...
Операционной системы для активного сетевого оборудования. Мы ее сразу себе забираем, ну, вот, буквально следующий день, там, вот в таком формате. И
so we can,
также ее в отдельном отчете с другими уязвимостями мы ее будем подсвечивать.
Take me to the power call.
Примерно один день.
Ну, примерно, да.
Понял, спасибо.
So the reaction time is 1 day. Yes, more or less. Thank you.
Меня зовут Михаил Карпенко, я являюсь инженером отдела развития.
Hi, my name is Mikhail Karpenko, and I'm the head of the development department in Security Vision. I do SOAR and GSOAR development. Today, I want to tell you about dynamic playbook and in SOCs and how do you implement them in our platform. What is a dynamic playbook? It's a prepared scenario for automatic reaction or response, where you specify some manual activities when analysts has to do when do this cyber incident research. The first one would be static, second one would be dynamic playbook. Dynamic playbook is the hard-coded scenario, which is always going to be executed irrespectively of the context. It has some shortcomings, however, and such as no flexibility, that it cannot be adapted to a new type of cyber incidents, and that it's sometimes excessive, sometimes too much, sometimes is not enough. And also, it's very hard to scale it up. Dynamic playbook. It's about smart scenarios for some non-conventional situations.
Анализируют контекст инцидента.
And they analyze incident context, adapt in real time, and also, are built on only two parameters: input data and context of the incident. Well, the main goal of dynamic playbooks is resolving existing statistic playbooks problems, minimizing manual input of an analyst, and also minimizing mistakes which an analytic may do when researching or investigating an incident. Let's do a comparison between static and dynamic playbooks by the following criteria. Of course, dynamic playbook is winning because it looks into the incident's context, knows what kind of processes to be launched, while statical playbook is going to go according to the pre-specified scenario. It is not checking up against the context. Dynamic playbook, however, can also inquire additional data, be it from analytical services and from other SE, and the static playbook is also going to use just a regular data in the incident. It's not going to go any further because this is the way it was written. Dynamic playbook, in case of mistakes, they are going to work anomalies. It may pass through some stage or repeat some stage, but whatever the case, it's going to log a mistake and an analyst is going to work into that. While in static playbook, this is not going to happen. It's going to just break down and possibly we won't be able to do anything about it.
Как ведут себя плейбуки в...
Now, what do playbooks do at different stage of incident investigation? Let's begin with analysis. Static playbooks are going to look only for malware files. It will work using the same rules or guided by the same rules. And, for example, it will be able to find hashes, while dynamic playbook is going to analyze processes behavior, will see some anomaly activities, will find connection between the different events. And on the stage of holding back, the static playbook is going to do typical actions for all types of incidents, while dynamic playbook, in turn, is going to make some adaptive measures. For example,
файл.
For example, let's take, we have a malware file. It's going to look not only for file and try to delete it, but also it's going to enrich it. I mean, to find this file and get a new path, and then we'll get into auto-loading to see whether this file, malware file, is going to be auto-loaded or not, and then we'll delete this file and its copies using new pathway.
На этапе устранения
On the stage of elimination, a static playbook is limited by some number of actions, and dynamic playbook is going to work for specific objects. On the stage of restoration, a static playbook, for example, can simply to roll it back to the last backup. I mean, while dynamic playbook is going to see like about this last backup to double check it against threats and will restore data selectively and can also launch this backup in some isolated environment. And the final stage of incident research or investigation is a post-analysis with a static playbook, and analysts will have to do lots of reports and write in tickets, and probably they'll be deviating from templates and they may make actually some fatal mistakes, while with a dynamic playbook, this is not the case. Because automatically it's going to create tickets, it's going to generate reporting. Everything will be according to the templates and according to compliance procedures. But we cannot automate everything, right? Yeah. And some things have to be left with analysts, but whatever can be automated should be automated. And it will save time for reaction. The sooner we respond to the incident, the less potential damage will be. Automation is the only way to deal with the huge amounts of incidents we are observing. Whereas just one analyst equals one incident investigated, a dynamic playbook can process simultaneously tens, dozens, maybe thousands of events at the same time. There is no room for human error, and also it saves resources, and the team begins to work on their expertise, while all the routine actions are given outsourced to a dynamic playbook.
Как в нашей платформе строится?
Now, how do we do it in our platform? How do we work with dynamic playbooks? Dynamic playbooks has two parts. Number one is atomic work processes, and second one is a playbook builder. It all works in no code, and not only DevOps or developer will be able to edit those playbooks, but also analysts if they have respective rights assigned to them. Well, let's begin with the playbook builder.
Он позволяет быстро настраивать.
It'll help you to do the fast fine-tune for dynamic playbook.
Построить.
It's very easy to build it up, and you just have to show the sequence of automated actions, then whatever will be the manual actions at each stage of the incident, and we are looking into the context of the incident. And also it's going to speed up the playbook's developing time and also introduction. So whenever you do a pilot and we do implementations, we have more time to be able to, so that the implementation guys would be able to do, dedicate themselves to more important times instead of rewriting. This playbook is scalable, it's very flexible, it's editable. If you want to add some manual actions, you can add, you can subtract, and the same is with automated actions. And also you can change a context. I'm speaking about context, but in the playbook builder, we're already counting in this context like techniques and tactics, and what category and type of the incident, what is the stage of investigation, and what are the lines of response. Now, let's talk about atomic work processes. What does it mean? It's basically minimum, indelible kind of steps. The time of execution takes like the minimum possible time. Why are they atomic? A number of criteria for atomic nature. Like number one, the task is simplest, it cannot be further split up or divided. A work process has a very clear input and output data, so either mistake or result, and also it can be reused in different playbooks without any changes. So it means that basically it's a self-sufficient, it does not depend on any earlier steps taken.
Поговорим о превосходстве атомарности.
Now, a couple words about how the atomic, nature is superior. Like you can see, the atomic work process is very simple, and it can also how can I say it? Even analysts using templates can do it, and you change only one action. And the time of execution of this work process is minimal. It's gonna work like less than a second it will take. But on the left, you can see non-atomic work process. As you can see, it's like very clumsy. It has tons of transactions in it, and those transactions are sequential. So while one transaction is still going, you cannot move on to the next transaction. And this type of work process, it's very hard to scale it up. And for example, to be able to delete some kind of analytical service if you are no longer using it, or add the new one. And basically, this work process is very challenging to build from scratch, and again, it's just a simple one. They could be much more complex, and some of them are much bulkier, and this is usually what's happening. Now, what dynamic playbooks do when we take an incident into work? We assign the stage of investigation to an incident. We can see that certain atomic work processes have been launched. Some of them have been completed, some of them have been started, and some of them have been planned. As soon as we are moving, investigating the process, when we're changing the phase of investigation, those planned ones are going to be launched and going to be just performed. And so by the final stage of investigation, or atomic work processes will be completed. We do not take any functionality from the analysts. Like I was saying, there are some manual actions in the playbook, and they are like certain buttons, and they are responding to a phase specified in dynamic playbook. But if an analyst would like to investigate the incident in their own way, they can. Or nobody is taking away from them these work processes or actions which they've been using before. They may take all the actions with these objects, do all the things, and also to launch them, all the work processes you can see. Or alternatively, they can take pick just certain actions. As for the automation, it is not a replacement for analysts. It's merely a tool. And everything we can automate, we should automate, like I said before. We have to leave analytics only for very severe incidents in some exceptional cases, and so that this automatic system should be controlled and fine-tuned. Now, what dynamic playbook is going to do when we change the incident context? For example, we're adding some techniques and ways of implementation, some objects which are going to be part of this incident, and dynamic playbook is going to be ready for that. It's going to take this into account. And as soon as we are adding objects, we save it. The dynamic playbook is going to change on the go, and we'll launch these processes starting with the current phase where analyst is. As of right now, dynamic playbooks do not take into account in recommendations of the models, but they're working in symbiosis. They are different models. For example, a model which is suggesting to an analyst what work processes, what actions have to be performed for the incident investigation at this stage. I closed it right here, but there is one work process, and at least you can see the one on the slide. And the second model is going to show you a similar incidence. Analyst may dive into this incident and see how his or her colleagues have been investigating it before. And also, false positive model is going to help the analyst to identify false positives, and so they will have to do less manual work and will close incidents sooner. Again, talking about saving resources. All the dynamic playbooks and atomic work processes are going to be uploaded on our marketplace. So we can do pilots and implementations much sooner. And all playbooks and work processes are going to be standardized, they are going to be tested, and you can upload them, download them, and start using them right away. Also, it's great to scale up due to marketplace. When an organization has some new solution, you are downloaded this atomic work process, you download it, it's all working, you're using it, and minimum actions in a minimum amount of time. And marketplace will help you to select only right or the most needed solution. Selective integration, that is, if you gave up some solution or you've added a new solution, then you'll have only that which you will be using. And whatever you do not need, you will simply just delete it, remove it, or you can re-download it should you change your mind. Well, dynamic playbooks, it's a technical implementation of NIST recommendation, which makes NIST theory into fully working in automated process. And again, you implement it, and it's a part of compliance. Our dynamic playbooks cover all stages of the incident investigation, starting with analysis and all the way to post-incident analysis.
В дальнейшем развитии динамических плейбуков мы...
Further, when we develop our dynamic playbooks, we can see the following trends. That there'll be more integration with ML models. Playbooks are going to be built in view of results of these machine learning models, and also we are thinking about building some hybrid playbooks, when a process sort of like automated, but it has some forks, which has to be confirmed by analysts, and analyst is given confirmation, and then the playbook is choosing either thread of investigation. So basically everything is stays automated. And also we will try to cover the most scenarios possible with our playbooks, also out-of-the-box solution. And also I suppose that we will also be considering the context of the incident as much as it would be possible. And what we're counting in right now, it's great, but this is not enough. And we will try also to count in context of those objects which are part of the incident, which is, of course, the most important part. And also, we are planning to upgrade Marketplace to cover cover as many vendor solutions as possible, which are being used in different companies and organizations. Well, as of static hard-coded playbooks, they are not managing dealing with modern incidents. An analyst has to do lots of work, so it all has to be automated. And dynamic playbooks are totally changing this paradigm thanks to the context-dependent execution of atomic architecture and it beginning to cooperate with ML solutions and maybe some external systems as well. This is not the future. This is already in new SOC SOC standards. And those 80% of the standardized kind of attacks and incidents have to be investigated automatically, at least at several stages, so that analysts would be able to investigate some APT attacks, and so the system would be upgraded on the new threats, and so that analysts would have more free time on their hands. And I'm done with this. Thank you for your attention. And any questions, please, you're welcome. I guess I haven't covered everything I wanted in my presentation, so if you have any questions, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Спасибо.
Thank you. You were saying about the advantage of dynamic playbooks over the statical ones. That means that we have to give up static playbooks and move to dynamic. Or do we have to combine them in the process? And the second question, you are saying about the time of atomic processes. The sooner they kick in, the better. Does it work the same as in programming from the N or from 1, or how do you do this? Yeah, your first question is
нужно ли полностью переходить на...
Do we need to fully switch from static playbooks into dynamic playbooks? Let me go back to this playbook builder slide just a second. Yeah, we have to do it gradually, not like at once, and also we need some kind of hybrid, because without static playbooks, it would be very difficult right now to do this, to analyze this, and we put this into our playbook builder. You can put a check like static playbooks and to select the static playbooks which is going to run. So a transition will be like very, very gradual, and you'll have more dynamics and less static. But again, statics are going to stay. However, I wanted to get rid of them, but they are going to stay for a while. As for the time for atomic models, which work processes may take, yeah, the sooner we're going to get the information, the better it's going to be. Like I inquire API address for VirusTotal, and here I'm asking for API address for all analytics services. I do not need all of them. I need like just 2 specific. It's easier for me to launch 3 of those, and they will be working in 1 second each, like in parallel. So I'll come in a second. But this one, until the whole process is going to go down, I'm not going to get any result. What will be some transactional mistake, or token key is expired? You're gonna wait even longer. And for this to run with all the mistakes, it may take over 10 minutes, and I need it now. No, cannot afford 10 minutes in the incident. What SLAs are in SOCs, 10 minutes? No way.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Привет, спасибо за доклад, очень интересно.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. It's great. I was a bit late, and this framework, how do you integrate it with the CM?
Это отдельное какое-то решение, которое просто...
Or is it like a separate solution that you have to get to automate it?
Интегрируется, мы как бы строим.
It is not that we integrated, we sort of like built our own dynamic playbooks according to the NIST frameworks. And I was speaking about NIST, NIST, there are 7 stages which we are trying to cover, But in incident response, we do analysis and then the post-incident analysis. And recommendations we have in NIST, we transfer and implement them in our playbooks.
Автоматически же должны запускаться, правильно?
But they gotta be running automatically, right? These playbooks. Like you have an alert and boom, they go off. Like what manages, those playbooks? It's a playbooks builder. So it's a special solution, a separate solution, right? Yeah. We have it in SOAR, in GSOAR. Oh, it's about SOAR. I got it.
Как только инцидент приходит,
as soon as incident comes in, as soon as analyst is taking this into work, it's the stage of analysis and automatically work processes are being launched. I got it. And also, you said about how do you see the further development? I mean, is it going to be some kind of ML assistant which is going to manage playbooks and to add analysts or analytics, or is it going to be like 2 independent solutions of independent analytics, and they're going to SOC analysts what to do? So what's the future? What's the future? You can do ML, which is managing dynamic playbooks. I never thought about that. I have to think about that. What I meant is dynamic playbooks. They're counting in the context of the incident, but also the object which is a part of this incident, and let them count in the result of an ML machine learning model. So it's going to also to use the number of false positives, like a percentage, or maybe some other work processes. We have a number of ML solutions, and so far I'm saying that you can connect them with 2. I mean, the recommendation based on actions. That is, if ML model is saying, okay, I'm going to do this kind of manual actions for each incident, then why do we need it in manuals? We can move them into automatic, right? Yeah, to count the context. And as for the managing dynamic playbooks, we haven't thought about that either. Yeah, thank you.
Спасибо за доклад. Очень было
интересно. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Very interesting indeed. Just a comment that I've had. Maybe we should not say that dynamic playbooks are something totally separate, but it's like a development of static playbooks. You know, static playbooks would be like a top tier of description of what we want, while dynamic playbooks are just closer to like a bit by bit, you know, piece by piece. And now my question, let's say we have a set of these atomic actions. How do we synchronize data in between them? Even to get a verdict for IP, I'm reading for virus total, and then we get information in IP. Let's say we get yet another data for host names. We go into different systems now working for host names only. And then how do we do synchronization? You mean synchronization so that the outcome of the first work process would be transferred in the second one? Yes, we have a sequence. You can identify this sequence right here for two of them simultaneously. As the first one will be done, it will write this solution into the incident, into the technical table. And the second work process, which needs the context, it will take it from that aforementioned table. Okay, then if we say that, okay, take a host name and go there, but we probably need to have two atomic actions. One is going to take the host name, and the second one is going to go into this technical table and will take it as the outcome of the work of other atomic action. No. No. In the input parameters, we specify you have to take data from such and such table. So it should be there. Yeah, it's always going to be written there. And we're saying that either result or a mistake. And a mistake is also going to be like an alert for the analyst. Thank you.
Привет, спасибо большое за доклад. Вопрос.
Hi, thanks for the presentation, and this is my question. Based on what criterion you build this kind of atomic actions, set of actions? Does it depend on the current phase within your investigation, or maybe tactics or techniques? You're talking about manual or automatic actions? About both, yeah, both. Well, again, we can begin to consider in the context right here. But atomic work process also has input parameters. You can also transfer context. In this case, in these work processes, I did not add any context from my incident. And this dynamic playbook is going to work for those incidents where the context is as follows. Category type and tactics on each stage. You can see stages below. By providing analytics, you can do this kind of manual actions and to launch this kind of automated processes. So, if some point in the incident we get additional context, you have like additional actions, right? Yeah, let's say we have similar playbooks, and right here you have several tactics. Okay, we've changed the incident context and added tactics into realization. We can save it, and dynamic playbook is going to change on the go. It will be replaced by the other, and it will launch those automated processes for this respective stage where we did our saves, and will give you new manual actions. So for each stage, we have like phase, we have its own set of actions. Yeah. As you go with investigations, the change of phase are launched automated actions, and also the system will offer you manual actions. Why? how can I say it? No, to be able to highlight to the analyst what they should be doing. These are targeted actions. They do not have to choose and skip actions. Actions could be potentially 200. Why would they do this 200? You have like 5. Choose them on a certain phase. Makes sense. Thank you.
Спасибо большое за внимание.
Thank you for your attention, guys.
Всем привет. Как меня слышно?
Hello, everyone.
Коллеги, меня зовут Георгий Казаров, компания RootCenter.
I'm Georgy Kazarov, RootCenter.
Кто не знает,
I'm head of domains department. RootCenter is the largest registrator, corporate domain names.
онлайн-активами.
Also, we manage online assets.
Года наша организация была создана.
We are on the market since the year 2000.
Стояли у истоков
So we were
российского сегмента
at the
интернет. Сейчас мы работаем с
beginnings of Russian internet. We work with 750 domain zones. We also provide services to purchase domains and highly expensive domains transactions. And I will talk about our experience that we have accumulated when we received the claims from our customers on the domain portfolio management. All the cases that would be presented are real cases with our customers. All cases are about companies that are not small. Usually these are large market players, those that have sustainable, serious IT infrastructure, and despite of all that, sometimes some trivial errors happen, which leads to some big problems. Presentation will be with some cases, and on each case we would elaborate. Looks like the clicker is not working.
Да, смотрите, всего будет 8 кейсов, каждый кейс
There will be 8 cases. Each case about different cases. This is about being too hopeful, too confident. This is about one customer, but many customers see it. So this is a customer who is a business owner, and he has registered quite a beautiful domain names, and he decided that He does not want to get any advertising, service messages, and he has provided wrong email address, and as a result, when the time came to prolong domain names, they were annulled because he forgot to prolong them, and then he had to buy each domain for 800,000 rubles. And this could have been prevented just by topping up the balance or using real email names.
Настроить почтовые правила, чтобы не пропускать, потому что регистратор доменных имен
and
администраторам об определенных событиях, которые происходят с доменами.
Because the registrator has to inform about the end of registration time,
опцию резервации,
and there is also a domain reservation option, which is applies to Rus and RF. When you can take, you can have 30 additional days to recover a domain if there are any cases, any issues. And most importantly, if you are using domain for your business, register it under the legal company, legal entity, and not by physical persons, not by private individuals. And we can provide you also some services under the contract. Second case is about lack of vision.
Компания продвигала литературный проект, книгу.
The company was promoting a literature project, a book, and they have registered a domain. They have sold
Но при этом эта компания воспользовалась услугами
all the books, and the company used the agency to register this domain and to create this site. They forgot about domain, and the advertising company did not prolong the domain. And when the publisher decided to go back to this project and do something new, the domain was owned by a different person, by a different owner. So they had to purchase this domain, repurchase this. They had to spend money for the advertising in order to recover the previous project. How can we fight with this? Don't damn the domains if the project is over, because the cost of registration and domain prolonging is not so high. So you can also continue your domain and put it on sale, and then you can make a decision whether to dump it or not. If you and they can find a broker, domain administrator, have negotiations, and with high probability you would get back your domain as a result of this transaction. And you can use individual manager who would help you in this difficult situation. About the evil planning.
Смотрите, здесь цель была конкретной атаки.
The malicious intent there was an attack for a specific company,
атаковали конкретного сотрудника, скомпрометировали
a specific
занимался как раз поддержкой доменного портфолио.
employee was attacked, his mail was compromised, and as a result,
Данные сотрудника
they've got data of
один в один с данными этого сотрудника со всей информацией с контактом.
of this employee. They have copied his personal
Процедуре вполне легально.
room,
Доменные имена были перенесены с одного
and the domain
вот это
names were transferred to this fake account.
как бы сотрудник компании это заметил,
Fortunately,
к нам
this was noticed,
всё вернули назад, но здесь
so we returned everything
во-первых, внимательно следите за
back.
поступками.
So please
Резервные
be more attentive to access. Always use backup email for notices, because domain name transfer between accounts is always notified.
защиту
Use
абсолютно бесплатные опции.
free options to protect your account.
Фактор мы поддерживаем как СМС, так и
It's to have second factor. We can have both SMS
локальные
or Yandex.Key.
сетей офисных.
Use your
Восстанавливать
local IP addresses for your office, and
ваши сотрудники
to prohibit
его восстановление
to restore
какой-то
the
процедуры.
password by email,
Важно,
so that there would be some legal procedure if you forgot your password. Also, there is a premium control service when we prohibit critical operations with domains
второго фактора.
without second factor
И это позволяет
authentication.
очень много,
And that allows to
когда обращаются по доменам,
prevent a lot of problems
не допустить дальнейшего развития событий и предотвратить его. Ну и, соответственно, можно подключить услугу.
Also, you can use the service
Что это значит?
of
Мы, в принципе, регистрируем
internet blog when we register account based on some personal data or legal company. If
договор на
without your
регистрации
knowing, they won't be able to
позволяет
register this on a different
направленного взлома
personal identification number,
аккаунта, даже если там
INN.
сотрудника была взломана.
even if the email was hacked. About life.
Смотрите, юридические лица, в принципе, как и физически живут,
Legal entities as well as private individuals, they are being reorganized. And in this case, there was a reorganization
ликвидации текущего юридического
by liquidating current
доменного портфолио.
legal entity with big domain portfolio.
Проходили
All processes on liquidation were
активы,
done
оборудование,
on a routine basis. Assets were moved, money, etc. But they forgot about domains.
там действующие.
And on domains there were corporate resources, important services,
Со старого юридического
and to
компания не смогла. Почему не
to do transfer from old to the new owner. The company could not do that
Если компания ликвидирует,
because if the company is liquidated without a successor, then this agreement is terminated,
предоставляют услуги, ликвидированные
and legally you cannot provide services to liquidated organization. So in this case,
потому что компания уже
it wasn't possible to
что делать?
transfer rights. So what to do in this case?
Значит,
How to prevent this failure?
что доменные
First of all, always remember about domains. And this is your intangible asset,
передать
and that they can be transferred to the new legal entity if you are reorganized.
доменные, помним, не забываем.
So remember about domain names,
Это документально, как передачу прав в процессе реорганизации.
and this should be
Ну, соответственно,
rights transfer,
нашей помощью
and you can
мы поможем в любой
use our help, our support.
вас за ручку, чтобы
We can help you in any
всё
situation
сделали правильно.
for you not to mistake, not to make a mistake.
Следующий кейс
and do everything right. The next case is about wide horizons.
О чем он? Компания
The company
фактически не работает на
thought
российском рынке и
not to work on Russian market. It was more aimed at international market. They've registered a cool domain in com zone, but they forgot to register this in RU domain
в этом случае.
in Russia.
Домен в зоне RU, как правило, будет выкуплен
The domain in RU zone would be by a different
все подряд, либо этот домен потом
person. It could be phishing scam, or they would try to sell domain to you,
вернуться на
and you would have to
как хотелось
purchase it if you would go back to this Russian market.
попасть в эту ловушку.
So how to prevent this trap?
В своем портфолио доменном держать домены.
In your domain portfolio, try to hold your domains in Russian zones. Try to
международных зонах раз
duplicate
того, чтобы
in different international zones to back up yourself.
защиту контактных данных.
Always connect contact data
Лицо не может
for international
принадлежит и дальше использовать эту информацию.
domains, so that third parties won't be able to know who is the owner of this domain. And we have also safe procedure of domain registration. It's registered.
В том случае, если вы собираетесь, например, проводить какую-то маркетинговую активность или пиар,
have some marketing activity or PR activity which you do not know your competitors to know. In this case, you may use this feature, register this to an employee, and keep your plan secret. Next case is about uniqueness.
Здесь история про то, что компания крупная, региональная,
A large regional company
так называемые typo домены,
has not registered typo domains, domains which are written compared to the main domain, almost identical, like several letters are changed,
например, L заменяется на единицу, O
are
заменяется
changed like
либо добавляется в конце, в середине, в начале, задвоение символов используется.
or symbols are duplicated in the beginning or in the middle or at the end. This is in order to gather some additional traffic.
Компания регистрирует их для того, чтобы
Also, company register them in order to protect from scammers that are trying to use these domains in phishing purposes. In this case,
криминала никакого не случилось.
it's good that there were no criminal
На сайте, который был зарегистрирован,
on this site, which was registered.
помещен идентичный сайт,
There was an identical site with the same structure,
информационным контентом.
with the same content.
Единственное, что не было на нем SSL-сертификата.
The only thing, it does not have a serial certificate, and it was ending by the doubling consonant.
Мы посоветовали ему, что
So our customer noticed this.
там процедура
We've advised what to do. The procedure is
для того,
that you will have to spend a lot of time in order to find a hosting provider who has placed this site and block it.
нам нужно делать для того, чтобы
So what do we need to do to prevent such situations?
необходимо на
You need to register the domain
основной, но и с
not with
опечатками.
the main domain, but also obvious typos and in different zones. Then you decrease the probability
Использование таких доменов
of using such domains by fraudsters.
Мониторинг конкурентных регистраций.
Next, you need to have monitoring of competitors' registration and monitoring of who is
Безопасность домена. Мы будем сообщать вам
who is demands.
о том,
We would
сколько
advise you on
вы
how many
проходило по вашему айпишники этих запросов.
queries were in whose
Ну, то есть нужно понимать, что как
service,
просто так домен
because usually
пробивает.
domain is not
Пробивают, это означает, что есть некий интерес, возможно,
checked for whose.
к этой компании.
Probably there is interest to this site, to this domain,
Регистрации позволяет отследить
and monitoring competitor registration allows to
по написанию свачено. То есть вы
to see that
получите
there are domains which are written
своих интересов.
like your domain. Then you can have some preventive advantages. So you can use our individual managers. We would show you all 3 domains that are similar to yours. We would explain how it all works, and we will guide you step by step.
Про время.
A different case, the next case is about time.
В том, что у нас была компания есть небольшая.
We had a company, a small company.
У нее перестала работать корпоративная почта. Почему? Потому что разделегировали.
The corporate email stopped because domain was
Не был продлен.
in split delegation. It wasn't prolonged on time. The employee was notified, but he has terminated his contract, and so the new employee did not know about this. So the work has stopped just because of this banal case. They didn't see the notification that the domain has to be prolonged. So if you need to prolong a domain which is about to be expire or at the end of delegation time, don't be shy and send us the payment advice, and we would prolong your domain. You need to control the balance. They need to top up balance. We notify our customers. As to contacts, it's best to use corporate addresses and to use several of them. If one of your employees resigns, then others would remain. So somebody would see that notice that we need to do something, we need to prolong the domain. You can ask the forecast of expenses, or you can have post-factum payment. Post-payment. The last case is about trust.
История про то, что мы доверяем людям, с которыми долго работаем.
We trust people that we work for a long time. We that are our close associates. And the company which had entertainment project, it wasn't their main business. They have registered a domain for this project under their employee. So in the domain administrator, there were data of the private individual, and for us, he is an owner. As time went by, the company fired that employee, and the employee decided to sell this domain to the company. So please register domains for on the legal entity, not on the general director, not on the secretary, not on the accountant or anyone. If you need confidentiality, you can use that service of registrator. We can use that. We can do that, and you won't be having any losses. So these were my 8 cases. In all these scenarios, they really happened, except for one. Except for the scenario about White Horizons, we did not have such case among our clients, but we know that such cases do happen among our colleagues, registrators.
Это то, что может происходить.
And this could happen when a company
только потом задумывается о том, что
only retrospectively thinks that we need to open some new markets,
все домены заняты,
but all domains are already taken
очень дорого, и
or are sold at very high
либо искать
price, so you will have to spend money or find some not very good
у меня все.
solutions.
Я призываю
That's it from me.
после
I would encourage you
выступления
at the end
к нашему стенду центра
of my meeting to come to A sector,
подробно ответить
to
на
our
вопросы,
booth,
всё показать,
and we could answer your questions in more details and register your domains
про те сервисы,
and to explain our services
мы предоставляем для безопасности доменного.
that we provide for the security of domains.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Вопросы, может быть?
Any questions?
Да, спасибо за доклад.
Thank you for your presentation. You talked a lot that you should not register to the employee, but at the same time there is a premium service, safe registration to the employee. So how is it explained? Thank you for your question.
Регистрируйте на своего сотрудника.
When you register a domain to your employee,
Как бы, скажем так, юридические
most often legal relations with this employee is within your contract, within your labor code, or it's an
ну, в 99% это не так.
a freelancer who is
эту услугу у нас, мы в контракте
not an in-house employee.
и,
So
защищены
when you register this,
вернуть.
we would have to return this domain to you.
Без проблем мы
And if we don't do this, you can sue us. You can send us a legal claim. So you specify this in the contract with the company, but at the same time you register but you are violating the contract with the employee. No, with the employer we have a special agreement.
Ну, да.
So like a amendment or annex to the contract. Okay, thank you.
Все, спасибо большое, коллеги.
Thank you so much, colleagues.
Меня зовут Беляева Ева, и уже 7 лет я занимаюсь...
My name is Eva. For 7 years I've been developing SOAR systems. Now I'm in security division, and our company is known for trying to automate processes, including the information security processes. Well, today let's talk about SOAR systems and how they are changing, how the concept is changing, and perspective on how these systems should be operating. What are they about? For the second consecutive year, we've been sharing about NG-SOAR and the new generation SOAR, which is called to replace the older concept, and this is the description of what we mean, and I'm going to give you more details about the concept and about what this concept is all about, what kind of features we believe would be important to be a part of it. Let's take a look at this roadmap from the past to the future. And we first began with ERP systems. We've added some automation and integration, and then we got our SOAR. It happened several years ago. It used to be working successfully, but then we realized this is not important. We were missing something to be attached to processes. It is not enough to make out-of-the-box solutions with some integration and scenarios, and so that it would be like working on its own. So the next stage was to improve this product, and we began to add new modules into it. We began to add new tools and also analytical tools, and to kind of make it like a one-stop shop kind of approach. And for example, this 7-8 years ago, it was not very customary to manage assets in your infrastructure. It was like in a SIEM-DB systems, and we would be pulling it in when we were working on incidents. Now, hopefully, things change, and we believe it's also the matter of information security, like to see what we are surrounded by. And lastly, today I want to say about what kind of modules have been also added to our concept. And these are not our products, and we are seeing the vision. You can have like a lot of legacy systems you bought and you wrote them, but we are not suggesting to replace it. Don't buy us or any other vendors. Just use whatever you like, and we will try to help you to make the most of it. Our product has become even better than what it was sometime before. Now, I'll tell about processes and modules which should be a part of it. This is the list of the modules what we can do ourselves, and here there is no DLP systems and something else. Maybe you have them, but again, you can also build it in. And right here, we say that SOAR is a kernel. It's working with incidents and response and orchestration, but also this core cannot exist without asset management. Well, speaking about the new generation SOAR, then this year we are adding also ADR for instant response at the endpoints, and also communication with the regulators, and depending on what company you are and what you need to do more often. And also, we are adding into the SOAR in SIEM system because we believe that this should be a part of SOAR. If you're not managing events collection or writing correlation rules, if you are not doing it along with your SOAR, according to our concept, we believe this would not be very right thing to do. And we recommend you to build your SOCs and your internal security in this way, because judging from the cases and from our experience, this option will be the most efficient. It's going to give you more benefits than some kind of like a one-off teams and companies which once in a while will be communicating with each other. This is what slows down the real security process. Now, a couple of words about orchestration of the security. Again, it's one-stop shop idea. Other companies have also come into this modus operandi, so to say. And these slides, they are not just a MITRE with a stack. in FStack, it's the reflection of the full coverage for techniques and tactics and implementations. When we say about our concept, when we say that, what has to be a part of it, what not, we also have to add some metrics. How do we know what is efficient and what works? How do we know that clients is going to benefit from it? So far, we've taken best practice, we used the metrics, and if we've covered everything by attack vectors, by the correlation rules, we're looking into incidents, we believe things are looking great. And next, I think we have to talk about the four pillars of the SOAR, the new generation SOAR, and also about the process, like I said before. We are looking into the InfoSec process, and we're not just investigating incidents, we're not only detecting incidents from the events. We've taken and put together this best practice and built a process which we believe that it fools all the incident management as a whole. It's about preparation, how we work with our assets and how we just fine-tune to get the information, and how we then do connectors for them to be able to react using VDR. And it's also about writing correlation rules and how we respond to incidents at different stages, and how we stop an attack, how we do the homework, and so on. All of this is interconnected. Now, what has changed in the past year? Where we decided to focus our attention, and basically what we recommend you to focus if you are still polishing in your SOCs or in your internal information security departments this type of a system. First of all, it's simplicity of implementation. If you look at our colleagues and if you look at products from other fields, all of them have a minus or drawback. You cannot just plug and play, We're also in the process, but we're moving on, making progress so that you would be able to come to any client, any customer, simply to turn on the platform system, to make all the right setup for the integration, and for the things to be operational and start working. Because, again, based on the past year's experience, it would usually take from 3 to 2 years, to implement the whole project on the client side before the whole team would sit down and analyze and would finally begin to do something and to bring some good benefits. Of course, now it's much shorter, to several months, maybe half a year max, but still, we believe even that is still long. We need to speed it up. Next, we are talking about management. This is what all SOAR system manufacturers are trying to get. To be able to manage everyone, all the security tools, without analyst or engineer to do the manual work and spend a lot of their time. When we investigate an incident, we would be able to see all the information about enrichment, what we can do, what we cannot do, depending on the rights and infrastructure, depending on who is permitting us to do what. And also, like I said before, it's a modular build of our architecture. First of all, you have to understand what you bought and how to use this and what benefit you're going to get. It's not about, take some kind of silver bullet and from the InfoSec system to implant this ecosystem, hoping it's all going to work. No, it's probably about more smart approach when you know that where are the weak spots in your infrastructure, what you would like to change, and we are helping you process-wise to set your goals for defense and then to achieve these goals. And also, previously, when products were being developed, oftentimes they were aimed at the customers, now to some extent too. And when we come and say, what is lacking, what do you want, let us provide you with this. And now for several years we decided to move over, not like give up the strategy. It has become more hybrid. We are trying to also put in our expertise, because based on experience of implementation and communication with the situation centers and our own situation center, we see that we can do something like an expert on our own and say how to build the process in the right way and which mistakes you should not repeat. Now, what has changed? My colleague has mentioned today about dynamic playbooks, so I'll try to give you like a shorter version of it. There are static scenarios when you have like what to do, work around and how to escalate, and also dynamic playbooks. Its advantage is that a dynamic playbooks is adjusting on the go-to for any changes, whatever is happening for you. For example, you got a new chain in escalation, and now you have to write letters or you've added the whole segment of a network, to which you also have to react, or you got a new analytics service you have to ask for information. If you do all of this manually through adoption, writing static playbooks, it's going to take some time. And if we're breaking it down and making dynamic playbook, which is easy to set up in the editor, immediately this problem is gone, and we're saying, okay, take a look. Now you have one more CM, or now you have one more ADR, and also respond using this as a segment. Next, it is something that we've had already, kill chain, building the chain of attack. Again, going back into the past, back then we first began to think about macro correlations. It's a correlation between incidents which have already happened and looking for any interconnections between them. You need this for right response, to decrease time of response to incident, but also you need this to be able to find traces of those attackers in your infrastructure. If we can find a connection between the incidents, like a chain incidents one after another, and we can say it's the same guy or the same APT team attacking our system, then investigation of these incidents also we need like interconnected, because all the one-off incidents can be saying about the same thing. If two teams, like a virus analyst and those who work with a network, will be working independently, it will not be independently because the attacker may persist in the system and move, and we will not even be able to notice that. We've decided to simplify this mechanism of how these incidents are sought and combined into one attack, and now the attack has become the visual to coordinate people and to provide them with a full toolbox for responding and doing their investigation, and so that this investigation would be consolidated in one point. Next, we've added the new thing. Like previously, we were using different ADRs and do the response with our partners and so on, and now we have our own EDR, and we have added this so that this would be more convenient, and so that only one person would be in charge, because editor and correlation rights are the same. You can set the rules for incident identification, and also you can set the rules for proactive blockage, reacting even before the incident has happened. Like I said, this is just a regular ADR concept. We have it, and moving on. Achievability routes. What it is about? It's about like what point of your network and how you can get to a different point in your network, and these routes are being calculated, and before we've just shown them within the incident as an additional context for you, without raising lots of logs from different machines, and different service would build this path, but to be able to see it very visually and understand which nodes have been impacted, involved, to understand how you need to do your restraint. Like, for example, you need to close the ports or maybe isolate your hosts, and what to do and where to go and how to get to IT department, what kind of ticket to do. So this is also about speed, about visuals, so that incident would be more clear, and so that not only super qualified analysts would be able to do this, and those who are able to connect logs, but also just regular folks who've been trained of how to do these internal SOCs scenarios. In addition to this achievability route, there is also attackers route, and we first began to do a simple thing. We'll build those attackers route. How did they get into our kill chain, and then we assumed that these attackers would pursue certain routes, certain pathways to critical information systems, to some super important and sensitive hosts. Now, we've added right here in also ML, machine learning, to be able to forecast a possible path of an attacker in the system depending on their behavior pattern. Not only we are offering 10 or 20 points, or they may potentially be, but we also show what points out of these 20 would be more realistic for them to get to. Another new thing we're adding, integrated bulletins. It's about the concept of the tier. Gartner was speaking about that last year, that we also have to have a threat detection. And I was speaking about that at this slide with the modules that we need to communicate with the TI and UBA. And right here, in mini, some kind of option, we decided to make it more real. We're looking at the report, looking at the bulletins, so that analysts would see, okay, this attack is very similar to one famous attack we've heard about, we've known about, and how to respond to that. Or we know how it had happened, so that we could see how to fix it, what kind of hardening we can do in the system, in our infrastructure. So it's like two things. First of all, we can look for coincidences, for indicators, searching for techniques and tactics to highlight a right bulletin to the analyst, but also so that ML system would be able to see different bulletins and break it down to different components, to indicators, to strategic attribution, and also in the incident which shows like what's going on. And also, I think the final thing I want to tell you about is about ML Assistant for an analyst. My colleagues have already highlighted this. I'm going to give you a shorter version of it. Right here, it is not all we wanted to make. We still have lots of plans in our roadmap of what we would like to do with LM, for example, to add into for our analysts. But yes, it is what it is, identifying false positives, which is noise reducing, and so we can focus on very important incidents which probably are going to be real. I mean, analysts will be looking into them, and also analysts may have some other incidents which may be similar, and then one of those incidents will be highlighted as a real incident. So this keeps your perspective fresh, so you would not miss this incident in the flow, because again, there is a human mistake and people may just overlook an incident. Like I said before about building attack chain and similar incidents, we are looking at them, we can connect them according to context, based on who was involved in the incident and how this is done in techniques and tactics. And again, this helps us to give relevant recommendations, and analysts can, among some other similar incidents, to find some response patterns from their colleagues. And for example, when a new analyst come into the team and they need to learn using some information. Now, recommendations. We have two types. First of all, we wanted to reuse recommendations from dynamic playbooks and to rebuild them with time. When we see that for some threats people are more demanded, some are less demanded, never used. The idea was so that dynamic playbook would be redone and some threats would come, others would go. Now it's still in the pipeline. What can we tell about recommendations? It's again recommendations based on historic data about what our colleagues have done or did not do, what they are doing most often, and what people do based on their knowledge database. We can highlight, okay, this is the frequent actions, non-frequent actions, this would be great to do, this is not so great, and so our tools from several hundreds of actions go down to several dozens, much easier to work with. And also the database knowledge database recommendations. We collected several best practices from the Russian and non-Russian vendors. We did some correlation between what what kind of incidents they say and what incidents may happen here locally. So we get basically just a global practice right here as an advice. Now, achievability, again, we do it through this kind of a zero assistant, ML assistant, and also the final thing I wanted to say is about parsing of bulletins and adding context. So our concept is that SOAR is not just a SOAR, like not connected here, nobody's talking to this SOAR and integration only. No, SOAR is a unified orchestration system for managing the whole security process, which is able to communicate with its modules so that this security would be enhanced. Thank you for your attention. If you would like to see and to touch on how it works, to see some cases, please come to our stand, our demo, and now I'm open to any questions. Hello, my question is about finding a route through the graphs. I mean about a multi-tenant possibility, like we have a graph for a certain type of incident and maybe some subnets, and on the graph we can see only segmentations within just one tenant. Would it be possible if we have several clients, they have our subnets, but they can be fully replicated? How SOAR would go about that? It's a private case. We didn't get this kind of an inquiries, but technically it would be possible to do. So we can take all the we take them, make the full map of the network, and then to look for the routes from the segment to a segment. So this would be implementable. How about through the organizing this network, if there is some essence in security vision, can you just build this intercommunication? Would that be possible? No, you can't do that. Also through organizations that if they are made not even like a subsidiaries, but if there is at least any connection between them, any routers, yes, we can build it, we can show it. Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Еще раз всем спасибо. Вижу, что вопросов больше нет.
Thanks once again. No questions. If there'll be any questions, please come. Our team will be very happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Итак, всем добрый день. Меня зовут Антон. Я руководитель направления разработки.
Hello everyone, I am Anton. I'm in charge of development in Xialo.
Это наш новый продукт.
And I will talk about Xialo Data Cube, the platform to isolate corporate data from unprotected access. So I will talk about the development of our solution. Working with different companies, we see some common problems with the data security. Although they have different business, they all have same difficulties in providing safety of their data storage. So there are three main problems. It's a big volume of data and formats, lots of different access to this data, on-premises, cloud, mobile, and the third area is the human factor. And the users, they may have their account compromission, and some important properties could be missed in the system of protection. So how the solution looks for the safety in a company? There is a safe contour around the infrastructure, and then there are some separate vulnerabilities covered with patches by different means to fight with intruders. Although there is one significant drawback. If the intruder gets access inside the infrastructure, they may escalate their privileges and get access to the entire company, getting all data and doing whatever they please with this data. As a result, if there is a malfunction or hacker attacks, this leads to some grievous events, financial losses, reputational risks, and problems with regulators, because personal data legislation is getting more and more stricter, so it's a serious challenge. So that's why there is a zero trust approach. It's a world trend. Zero trust concept means that there is a minimum trust to any user. So in architecture, any computer in our infrastructure could be hacked. And so there are the following steps to build a safe environment. First, it's all users go through authentication. All devices are checked for their legitimacy. Even legitimate devices, they are checked for hidden threats. The access is only to the minimum set of resources, and all traffic is encoded. These are the common areas of zero trust concept, and I will explain how we organize this approach. First, it's secure by design. Second is minimizing human factor, because it could be fraud, and people are getting a lot of. And now, if we have some complicated procedure to make some configuration for our system, everything should be simple and convenient. And for the users, if they use an inconvenient solution, then users start to find simpler ways as backdoors to our wonderful system. So the key principle, the convenience of this solution. So what do we offer? At the user device, we install our agents, and after there is a two-factor authentication in our agent, it launches a protected environment, which is separate from the operational system. So we have a set of applications which are authorized, and from this environment there is access through VPN to internal resources of the company. So everything which is made in this environment will stay there without opportunity to move data to another. So the users, after they see and being authenticated, they have our agent window, and they can launch this in a protected environment. So if the user opens a file manager in protected area, this is file manager, and then through the menu they open their own file manager, and they see on the desktop two windows, and for the user they're absolutely identical, but there is a big difference. One file manager works in his operational system, and the second one works in our protected environment and sees their resources. So if there is a new file made of protected environment, this file will stay there. Because in reality, this file is created not in his operational system, but in a special encoded disk. So thus there is a division of file space. And if the user opens browser application and opens the application, he will see two applications looking identical, but the application from the operational system is the browser with access to internet, and we're not limiting his work in this browser. And the second browser, launched in the protected environment, has no access to internal. So if the user will try to highlight some data from protected environment and copy them to the browser, to ChatGPT, send some a portion of the code, that would be prohibited because exchange buffers are divided. So there is a network isolation and exchange buffer isolation. In addition to Google Chrome, you may launch any application which works on this operational system. And instead of Google Chrome, it could be the developer environment, it could be 1S accounting. So any applications could be launched in this protected space, and all protected environment data will stay there and never move to personal environment. So they may copy data inside of protected environment. Everything which is required is done inside of this protected space. It's like Word launched in protected space and feeling no discomfort. Discomfort would be if they would try to do something which is not allowed, like to copy some text from protected area to his personal area. So there are entities created in the working space, determine which resource is available through which applications, and then there are specific applications. So we may create the accounting space and determine the 1S server and allow 1S application. For developers, it could be a GitLab and different applications for development. So each group of users will work within their area, exchange data within their area, and they could not copy data from this environment to their computers. In the middle, we have company resources, GitLab, and on the sides there are two users, Boris and Olisa. So for the first space, we determined that both users, they have access through browsers. So Alisa may come to Jira through a browser. Boris also has access. He may comment on this. And they're talking within this space. We are creating the second space, which is a file storage. For file storage, we allow applications such as Word or File Manager, and a document could be created to be signed, and then Boris comes to the file storage, downloading this document into his protected area, and then there is exchange. But to take this secure document and to upload this to Jira, it won't happen because these are two isolated spaces. So that's how we get isolation, not only between corporate data and user system, but we may split corporate data on different segments, prohibiting to move data between these segments. What do we get as a result? In addition to classical protection systems, when we encode the entire traffic, when we have authentication and legitimacy check for any device, we have additional protection echelon. So if there is an intruder getting access to the employee's device, they will see only personal data of this employee, because all corporate data is located in the protected area. So Metasploits and encoders on the employee computer won't be able to compromise the corporate resources. So if the intruder somehow gets to the protected area, on this protected area, there is minimum access to company's resources. It's like one server. And secondly, to launch within this space, it's only the applications that are allowed. So inside the file system, there could not be no viruses or encoders, because our agent determines what will be in that space. If the fraudsters start to download data from protected area, they will have a problem on how to extract this data from protected area into the host system to steal this, because this space is isolated and there is no direct connection between the host and the space to transmit data. So what do we get as a result? First of all, we're limiting load on the infrastructure, because all policies are processed at the agent. There is no extra traffic. And it's like VDI solutions when there is a special server or with a virtual machine. Here we are saving because all computing is done at our computers. We don't have to have supercomputers for safe work. And secondly, we have data isolation and encoding. So this protected area is divided, it's fenced from personal area. So the user cannot copy, whether by chance or otherwise. Also there is an access panel. What kind of access is required through which application, and then to a contractor we may give access to this environment. We may send them the agent. The contractor will connect, doing everything which is required, and then we would switch off this click. And number 4, it's invisible security. The user is working using
максимально интуитивно понятно. И он
the applications that they like,
замечает, что он работает то в своем личном
and they do not notice that they are working on their personal space
пока он не попытается сделать что-то неразрешенное ему. Только тогда
unless they do something unauthorized.
пространство.
Only then they will see that these two environments are divided.
На самом деле все. Большое спасибо. У нас
Well, that's it from me. Thank you. We have our
я там могу наглядно
booth. If you have any questions, you can approach us and I can show you how it works in practice. We have both agents and the configuration panel. Please follow our news.
Вопросы, если есть какие-то, можно сразу задать.
Any questions?
Как пользователь попадает в защищенное пространство вот, с точки зрения...
How do the users get to the protected area? And what prevents intruders to do the
У
same?
него есть агент, он там вводит логин.
The user have an agent with a login and password and second factor
Дальше он туда
authentication,
именно на уровне нашего
and they get there on the level of our agent,
в том же окошке,
and the agent
на выбор, какие
in the same window
можно запустить.
offers what kind of application to launch in this
Собственник,
environment.
ну, даже если
The intruder,
туда попал, он попал
even if they get inside,
окошко для
they see the window to choose applications, so they cannot start
извлекать оттуда.
exploiting the data inside of this environment.
Понятно, да? Тут
They
довольно
won't be able to extract this data because it's an abstract concept.
Скажите, пожалуйста, вот, допустим, у нас пользователю не нравится то, что...
If the user does not like that he needs to run from his computer to protected area, and he decides to sabotage this, he can start working at his personal area, and he may create some important files. And if he needs to download protected files from the internet, this has to be done through the administrator. What prevents to sabotage?
компьютере никаких
On the personal computer, there are no
операционная система
access. It's an ordinary
не связана. Он условно может, да,
operational system.
там код,
They may start writing a code,
все-таки обычно у нас
but from zero,
заходит,
because usually developers, they come
скачивает какой-то
to
проект,
GitLab,
его дорабатывать.
downloading a project and improving it.
Первый шаг. Ему нужно
So that would be the first step.
код, с которым
They
он
need
начнет
to get a code
получить,
to
ему
work
придется
with.
открыть
And in order to get the code,
агент,
they need to open our agent,
EDE,
select the
GitLab, подготовить,
EDE
да,
soft,
соответственно,
and to use a project from GitLab.
с нуля прям.
So they won't be able to sabotage unless they do something from zero. And the second part of your question,
Нужно из браузера, из интернета какой-то файл.
Точно.
if you need a file from the internet,
Перемещение. В целом это все можно
as to moving files, this could be configured. So technically, one of the ideas is that we allow from personal space to move, if they need text to move from
это можно прям
into the protected environment, this can be allowed on the level of administration.
что-то перемещать.
So from personal space, they can move to
Такой обмен.
the corporate,
Ему нужно
but they won't be able to do the same
код отправить
backwards.
только уже через заявку.
So if they need to send the code, that is only through the
Получение файла.
query to the administrator when extracting a file from corporate space to personal space. This should be sanctioned
Спасибо, да.
or authorized.
Здравствуйте.
Добрый.
Хотел спросить, с какими операционными системами вы работаете?
What kind of operational systems do you work with?
В текущий момент
Good question.
у нас только мы
Currently,
в стадии
we are just demonstrating our
у нас планируется
product. In August, we are planning to have
Linux, это в первую
full-scale release for Linux. Astra Linux and Ubuntu, and probably the same year we would support something from Linux family and other operational systems. Windows we are planning to launch next year, and we can launch also.
Вопрос, а как прокидываются устройства, например, принтеры?
And what about peripheral devices such as printers? Printers, if they are network printers, then we have a policy of network accesses. We may allow a printer for the working space, and you can work with it by network. But if you connect just the printer through USB, technically you can do that. You can check the device ID, but we can do that as a perspective in the future.
Тоже интересный по поводу проблем перекрестного доступа между изолированными
The
пользователь Борис.
Isolated segments
Данным финансовым для разработки.
cross access.
Данные примонтировать друг другу, чтобы передавать коллеге, который доступ не имеет.
What if one user selects data and sends data which is not the other user does not have access to this or rights? Well, there's authorized role which determines that something should be transferred from corporate space to personal space. A ticket is created and somebody has to control it, somebody has to approve it. But if the user has root rights to send this to the colleagues that do not have access to this, like making a block, shadow block, where there is data from corporate, financial, and GitLab, how to fight with this. Administrator is in the internal infrastructure and starts to unite resources. And if Boris would send data to Alisa, sending financial information, probably this is not about our solution, because if the person comes into the server and tries to reconfigure switches, then that is not about our solution. You need to organize the network that there's no connectivity. No one can transfer anything. So all control should be done through the single point. Okay, thank you.
Здравствуйте. Хотелось бы узнать, приложение как-то защищено от визуального шпионажа? То бишь, если на хост-системе осуществляется какой-то вредоносный пост,
espionage. If there is a video recording or print screen, we are planning. We don't have this on at our booth, but we are planning to launch it. There will be watermark, and watermark would write the user name, time, like a conditional measure. You could spot the leak where it has leaked from which user.
Добрый день. А вопрос, если сотрудник, он же злоумышленник.
If the employee and he is the fraudster trying to download files, if they have access to the browser, like opening email or messenger, and just send to himself or to the. There is a browser, but it has network limits, only authorized addresses. So as administrators, no internet resources are allowed where files could be uploaded. So in the browser, they can use only internal resources, corporate resources that they need to work with. If there is a mail cloud, that would be the point of leakage. It shouldn't be there. There should be no access to internet everything that you need on the internet you can use through your personal space, but not for corporate files.
Все, спасибо большое.
Well, thank you so much. Please visit us at our booth.